Hey guys and gals, J. Anthony, and welcome back to the channel. So I've been asked quite regularly lately to do an update on the state of the collection, state of the watch collection, state of my hoarding habit of watches. And this sounds very easy to do in principle, but quite honestly, it's not, because I don't leave this stuff just sitting around. It spends most of its time, it being my collection, sitting in a bank vault collecting dust. And so I don't keep all the pieces out. I go randomly swap out to the ones that I want. And so quite honestly, this is the first time I've seen most of these watches together ever. And it's shocking because I got rid of quite a few watches this year, how many I still have left. So this is kind of a once kind of deal for a while, because this stuff again is never going to be together for a while. So I went out, I've heard you. Here's a recent state of the collection for you all. Couple things before we get started. I am not a snob about these things. My collection will speak to that. I do have some very high-end pieces, but quite honestly, I still like wearing G-Shocks and Seikos and other stuff. So if you're looking for a elitist perspective on watch collecting, I don't know why you're on this channel anyway, but I can afford to buy what I want, and I buy what I want, and what I want is not always expensive. And so you'll see that in my collection. I always forget to please take a moment to subscribe. And also I'm going to put a link to my Instagram at the bottom of this page here. It's janthony_call me on Instagram. So if you're curious to see more of these watches up close, I do post them regularly. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the video. Let's go ahead and get started. And in no particular order, we'll just kind of go around. As you can see, this is a bit too much to fit into the screen on the camera right now. And I'm not going to cover every piece on this table because quite frankly, not all of them are terribly interesting. But we can definitely see I have a hoarding problem, given that I've gotten rid of at least 5 watches this year that I roughly remember, and I still can't get all these things in a one shot. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and grab the watch that really got me into watch collecting, which is this Omega SpeedMaster. Well, not specifically this one, but my grandfather has an original Omega SpeedMaster from the late 60s, and that's the first real nice watch I ever remember anybody wearing on their wrist. And ever since I was a kid, I always really wanted one. And it's just what really got me into watch collecting. I think everybody has a watch that way. And so this is a current model. This is a sapphire sandwich. This being the full-size professional, this one is a manual winding chronograph. And there's a full review on the channel, I believe, for this one. I honestly can't remember, but if not this one, the previous generation. Standard chronograph, stop, start. This one has a more vintage style bracelet, which I love. I love the throwback. Really well made. And inside you have the beautiful Omega 3861 manual winding movement. This thing's a classic. I wear this thing all the time. I think every watch collector tends to have one of these in their collection regardless of what else they own. And this is truly one of my favorite watches, and I bought this one purely for me. This is not an investment piece or any of that jazz, but this is just something I really love. And speaking of stuff that got me into watches, here's another watch that honestly is what really started it for me. This is my 1899 Elgin pocket watch. This is a manual wind watch from 1899. As you can see, it's got a running seconds down here at 6 o'clock. This is a watch that as a kid, it was broken. I got it with a missing crystal and missing hands and spent about $200 20 years ago to get it restored. And now it's running like garbage again and needs another restoration. But I also threw it on this aftermarket like case holder, so I can wear it as a watch. But this is back when engineering was expensive and labor was cheap. So this is a beautifully finished watch, pewter case, and to think that this watch is 125 years old is honestly a crazy thing. And it's been in my family since new, so just a cool piece of history right here. Another interesting piece of history, or interesting to me, this is a Pierce chronograph, and this is one of the first column mill chronographs ever made. I believe it is the first, but there is some contention about it. Manual wind, it's got a lot of patina. This one actually is a little bit different in that it's a totalizer top for 60 minutes, seconds hand down at 6 o'clock, but you start the chronograph with the bottom pusher, stop it, and reset it. It doesn't set in a traditional way. Kind of interesting piece, a little bit small for a modern piece, but lots of patina, cool piece of history. And this is on a vintage NATO strap, which as you can see has had a lot of interesting stories. And what's really interesting about this watch too is my grandfather actually got this one in wet. I think he actually swam with it in a lake one time and it stopped running. And one day it just came back to life, and it's been running ever since. So just an interesting piece of history, again, for my family. Something else I covered recently on the channel is this Tissot Powermatic. Always been a big AP guy. I suspect at some point I will own a Royal Oak, but I got to tell you, this is my go-to travel watch. I've worn this thing all over the world. Most recently, I've had this in, I want to say Alaska was the last big trip I did with this watch, but this watch travels with me quite a bit. Super comfortable, and unlike a lot of APs, the bracelet will fall gently right next to the lug, so it fits really nicely on a wrist. Buoyant buckle, nice little Powermatic 80 movement in there, great power reserve. Origin of this movement goes back to the ETA 2824, but obviously it's been heavily modified since. Nice piece, full review on the channel, but I legitimately wear this thing all the time. Some other watches people are surprised to know that I actually wear is I'm a G-Shock guy. Here's one of my G-Shocks on the metal bracelet, always wanted a metal bracelet. I forget the model number on this thing, and I know I should, but I'm not as big into G-Shocks as I am other things. But what I will say this too is a lot of people talk about rugged outdoorsy watches. If you were to drop me in the middle of the woods and expect me to survive, I would not be wearing a Rolex on my wrist. I'd be wearing one of my G-Shocks. So this is the kind of watch you take when you want to go work on your car or go chop some lumber or go for a hike. It's just something you don't have to worry about. And I have a couple other ones that have been on the channel. Here's another one that apparently the light's no longer working on it, but you know, I go diving with these things. I go swimming with them. I beat the crap out of them, and they keep running. They're just great for what they are. Some other classics of the channel. I know a lot of you that originally found me years ago and stuck with me came in through this watch. This is my SRP 307 J1 Seiko Monster. This is one of my favorite watches of all time. I tend to think of it as a brutalist style watch. This is one of those things that you love it or you hate it. I've done more than one review. Most recently, a couple weeks ago, I did a review on this guy. It needs a service now. It's keeping pretty bad time. Put it on my timographer or time grapher, and it's got really low amplitude. It's in the hundreds, and it's got a pretty high beat error. So it needs to get serviced, but the bracelet on these things is just really fluid. You know, it's just a good working class watch. There's some micro adjustments here, diver's extension here, and I love the little wave case back they put on these things too. So this watch has been all over the world with me too. This was my go-to travel watch before I got the Powermatic. Another watch too that's been on my channel a couple times, Seiko Sumo. I bought this watch with some scratches on the crystal and actually did a video buffing this crystal out. I've had this watch for, I don't even know when, but this is another watch that gets a lot of usage. They still make a current version of this. I just saw it in Japan a couple weeks ago. Similar bracelet to the Monster, although I don't think quite as nice. But this is just another great, just everyday usable watch. Love this thing. Another just random watch before we get into some of the crazy stuff. Swatch Systems 51. I tend to be one of those people if I'm on vacation or it's the first time I've been to some place, I just have to buy a watch. I bought this just because it was an automatic and I was curious to see the Swatch automatic movement. I think these things are kind of neat, the way they did the design on the rotors. I've probably worn this watch 3 times. Honestly, I don't really like it, but just one of those things. I bought it the first time I went to Vegas and I've just had it ever since. Some other interesting things on this table. This has been on the channel very recently. This is my 18238 with the rare mother of pearl dial. You can kind of see in this light how beautiful this dial really is. You got to get it in just the right light to see it. Second Rolex President that I've had. This one is in almost new old stock condition, still has a sticker on it, full 18 karat gold bracelet. This is a watch that I've just missed ever since I sold my original 1803 Roman. And when this one came up for sale with the mother of pearl dial, I just had to have it. And I love this watch to death, but this is not a stealth watch, so it doesn't get worn every day, but I do wear it quite a bit. The Rolex that I've probably worn the most of any Rolex I've ever had, and probably my general overall favorite, is the 16622 Rolex Yacht-Master. I'll do a review on this on my channel at some point. Platinum bezel, platinum dial, stainless steel bracelet. This is from the older days of Rolex with the cheap bracelets. But what's really nice about these is they have a slim profile, so they actually wear much more delicately than a Submariner would. I love the platinum. As you can see, this is another one of those watches that just loves the right kind of lighting conditions. It's just an awesome, awesome watch. And this is a watch I don't think I'm ever going to sell. Quite honestly, I think they're massively underpriced. I Submariner is an icon, I get it. I think this watch is better than a Submariner in every respect of the matter, but clearly the market doesn't agree with me. Some other random stuff. Here's a Vostok Amphibia. I have a thing for Cold War stuff. I don't know why, but I just find it interesting. If you've seen some of the videos, I collect like submarine parts and stuff from the Cold War. So buying a Russian Cold War watch with a submarine on it, I mean, how could I resist? And very simple manual winding watch, blue dial. This thing is not built in a way that you could smack it around. I mean, it's a good watch, but it's definitely filled of its price range. I think I paid $40 for this guy, but it's a cool piece. I like to wear it. I don't like what it stands for politically. I'm not going to say that I'm a huge fan of what Russia's doing right now at all, but I do think this watch itself is interesting, and it's a cool piece of Russian history, or I should say the Soviet Union, if I'm being correct here. Cool piece. Speaking of watches that have weird political connotations behind them, here's a Seagull 1863. This is another manual winding chronograph. And what's really cool about this particular watch is there's some striking similarities to the SpeedMaster. I'll do a review on it at some point. But this is a column wheel chronograph, which for what these things cost, which is a couple $100, it's amazing how much you get for the money, although the finishing on this is pretty poor. So this is not Patek Philippe level quality finishing, but for what it is, kind of a cool piece. I do wear this watch quite a bit too. This is a fun toy to carry around and just kind of wear. And rubber strap makes it really easy to wear as well. Several years ago, I did a controversial video that I think got me banned from some of the Seiko communities, but I did a review on this, the Seiko Presage. And I was quite frankly quite disappointed with this watch. I thought for what it cost, it was clear that Seiko had been cutting some corners on their quality control. And this is something I bought right after my SARB 35 broke, and this is by no means the same level of quality as a SARB 35, but it is still a cool watch. I still think Seiko makes some of the best dials, if not the best dials in the industry. And so this is something that my significant other wears now frequently. I haven't worn it since, but it does get a lot of wrist usage on their wrist. Just a cool piece. I'm still disappointed in the quality control that Seiko put into this watch. You can watch the review if you're curious about it, but it is still a beautiful watch, and from a brand that I have a lot of love for. Down here's another watch that I've had for a long time, another watch that's traveled the world with me. Most recently, this went to Japan with me last year. What's great about the Explorer 2, I had this watch at the same time I had a 16710 GMT Master Coke, and I sold the Coke and kept this because I like this better. I really like the black and white contrast on this dial. Black is my favorite color, and I just like the little hints of black over the white. And what's so nice about this is a little bit stealth for a Rolex. Not a terribly great bracelet on it, but it's super comfortable. I had this thing serviced a couple years ago, so it's running pretty good. And it's just a great travel watch. And I just love that you can get a Rolex with a white dial. I think that's kind of interesting. And what's really cool about this thing, it's been sitting for a while, so it's going to take a minute to get it running here, is you can independently set the hour hand. So it's very easy to jump around time zones, and you have a second time zone here as well. So whenever I go to Asia and I'm keeping track of 13, 14, 15-hour time differences, this is super easy to keep track of home time versus where I'm traveling. An awesome piece that, again, I don't plan on getting rid of anytime soon. One of my newer adds to the collection that I did a review on last week, and this lighting is not going to show this dial for you in the way it needs to be. This is a beautiful textured brown dial, but for whatever reason in this light it's coming off more black than anything. It's not. It's a chocolate brown, and it has texture to it, but you can't see it. This is a Japan-only model. This is a Seiko Boutique Edition, well, Grand Seiko Boutique Edition. It's here on a croc strap, pretty thick croc strap, and a Grand Seiko Mark deployment buckle. This is kind of my stealth luxury watch. I really like it a lot. The details on this thing, even the hands, you can kind of see this thing just has so many cool hand-finished details on it that are just incredible. This is one of those watches, the more you look at it, the more you notice about it. Just all these cool little things it's got going on. Love, love, love this piece. And even the finishing on the movement is just unbelievably nice for what you pay for these things. I don't understand some of the hate Grand Seiko's gotten recently. I think these watches are absolutely at or above Rolex for the price point. And they tend to sell a lot cheaper than Rolex, actually. And then last but not least is one of my most recent adds to the collection. I think, yeah, this is the most recent one. This is my Patek Philippe 5196. G. G stands for white gold. And this is the first Patek Philippe I bought. I just got it back from service, so it's running beautifully. And this is another one of those watches that has so many little details on it you don't really notice until you really spend some time with it. I love the gold on the dial. The little micro markers for each individual minute in gold are beautiful. The sub-seconds at 6, I like the old school dial. I'm very much a Art Deco and mid-century guy, so I love the classic nodes of this watch, but it's 37 mil. It wears quite big for a 37 mil, so it's very useful. I put it on this aftermarket strap because it came on a black lizard that was too formal for me. I'm not a formal person at all. And it comes on a Patek 18K marked buckle. So I've dressed it down quite a bit from what it would usually look like because I don't like stuffy stuff. But this piece is so cool because you have the contrast of the polished white gold with the brushed on the side. It just has a lot of little details that are really cool. And it's just a simple watch, Calatrava marked crown. That's a manual wind. And given how well Patek treated me on service recently, this is not going to be my last Patek. I'm already looking for another one. So really cool. But as you can see, I'm a very eclectic person who likes all different things. Sold several other watches this year. Got rid of a 2531 Omega Seamaster, a 240-818 GMT Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso special version. I got rid of my Panerai 287. I got rid of a Datejust. I got rid of a Breitling Navitimer. I've been paring it down and realized I still have some stuff that's just, there's too much going on, but love my current collection. These are kind of my core pieces right here. The Patek, the Grand Seiko, SpeedMaster, President, Yacht-Master, Explorer, my kind of go-to. But again, I regularly wear, my Powermatic. I regularly wear my G-Shocks, and I am still a massive, massive Seiko person. So hopefully that is a little bit of an interesting tour for you. I have a very eclectic taste, and I just kind of wear what I like, not what I think I need to wear. So with that said, hope you enjoyed this. So hey, welcome back. Again, took me a while to collect all these things and get them in one spot, but hope you enjoyed the review as always. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. Also, comment section below. Obviously always open to and curious about your feedback. I buy what I like, but I am honestly curious what you make of my current state of the collection. And as I've mentioned, I've been downsizing, but I don't think that's going to last for very long. So hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Appreciate all the support, and I'll catch you all soon on the next video. See you later.